Hello and welcome to State of Soccer TV. I'm Jill Gearin alongside Adam Turner, and we have McKenna May back in the studio, pushing all the buttons, making sure we sound and look good. Adam, today's matchup is between Canada and Croatia. Now, this group in particular has had a lot of upsets. Right now, Morocco actually leads with 4 points, followed by Belgium with 3, Croatia with 1. Canada does not have any points just yet, but the big story in this group is Morocco just defeated Belgium 2-0. So what does that make today's game so important?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a must-win situation, I think, for Canada. I think Mexico was facing that yesterday. Anything other than a win for Mexico yesterday really is going to make life hard. And I think similarly today for Canada, it's going to leave a lot of even a draw leaves a loss puts them out. A draw leaves a lot of work to do on the final day and a lot of help needed from the other game. And there's just a lot of scenarios in play. But a win puts them pretty firmly in the driver's seat, where similar to Team USA, if they win, their last game is really, very much not really do or die, but like they control their destiny, right? They can go win that last game and they're in. So we saw some really good stuff from Canada in game one. I thought they outplayed Belgium pretty drastically. And Belgium just against the run of play, beautiful long ball that was poked home, and Canada missed a PK, missed a couple other big chances. I thought Belgium got pretty lucky in that game to get out of there with 3 points. But it's a good Canada team. It's obviously a great Croatia team coming off a final run in 2018. So it's going to be a really fun game.
Right. Really, in any playoff situation, the teams always want to be able to control their own destiny. They don't want to have to wait for these other teams to win or lose. It makes your life a lot easier if you can just win this game, this match, and try to be in the driver's seat, like you said. Let's get into today's starting lineups. We have one change for each team for the starting lineup. Starting off with Croatia, of course, the goalkeeper is going to be Dominik Livakovic. We have Josko Gavardio, Dejan Lovren, Borna Sosa, Josip Juranovic, Marcelo Brozovic, Mateo Lovasic, Luka Madric, Andrej Kramaric, Ivan Perisic, and Marko Lavaha. So the change for the starting lineup of Croatia is they are not starting Vlasic. Instead, Lavaha will be starting as a forward. What do you think about that change, Adam?
Yeah, I guess to try to mix something up and get something else going. I think Vlasic had probably their best chance that I remember in game one. It was kind of a cross across the face of the goal, and it was a really nice save and could have gone in. He's a really lively player. He's plays in Serie A for Torino. They're going back to USMNT fans would say they're playing the MLS guy. They're playing the guy who plays at home for Zagreb in Croatia. So. Yeah, interesting one. I mean, to be honest, this Croatia team lives and dies with that midfield. The kind of the three-headed monster of Brozovic and Kovacic, and obviously Luka Modric, who's a Ballon d'Or winner and was the Golden Ball winner last World Cup, best player in the World Cup last World Cup. So it's everything goes through that engine, and I think that what we saw in game one is what we've seen recently with Croatia, is that engine slowing down a little bit. That engine doesn't have quite as much offensive firepower as it always has. Still really solid defensively and in possession, and it's a really technical midfield. But at the end of the day, you've got to put the ball in the goal. And so that the question marks for Croatia, who is going to put the ball in the goal, right? And, Luka Modric isn't the guy he was 4 years ago. And Kovacic has never been a goal scorer. And Brozovic is a, defensive center mid. So, you're kind of looking forward and you're going, all right, they need, I think, Perisic to step up in a massive way, and they need Kramaric to step up in a massive way. So, I mean, it's going to be, yes, the midfield driving a lot of things, but they need some in quality from Kramaric and Perisic, much like the USMNT. For all the USMNT fans out there, that's kind of what I think we need our end-of-the-road guys, our front three, to do things to put it home. And I think that's what Croatia needs as well. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair, though, Jill. I don't think Croatia gets – maybe they get a goal here in this game, but I could see Canada, holding scoreless.
And expect Vlasic to come in probably into the second half, I'd assume. Like you said, he has a little bit of a dynamite in him, a lot of energy. I'd expect him to come in for the second half. Before this match gets underway, let's go through the Canada starting lineup. Of course, the goalkeeper, Milan Borjan, he's been the keeper for this Canada national team for years now. There's also Stephen Vittoria, Kamal Miller, Alistair Johnston, Stephen Eustáquio, Atiba Hutchinson, Alphonso Davies, Richie Laria, Kyle Larin, Jonathan David, and Tahan Buchanan. Now, the only change for this, like I said, there's one for each lineup. It's Hoylett is not starting. It is Larin instead. Adam, your thoughts on that change?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, Larin was I think their leading goal scorer in World Cup qualifying. Is a guy who puts it home for them. I think they obviously saw the need to have some guys who are a little bit more clinical at the end of the road, just to give them more options of finishers at the end of the day. They created, I think, some really good opportunities against obviously a strong Belgium team and just didn't get anything to go. And so, I think the guy to really watch out for, though, is Jonathan David. I mean, he's their guy who, talking about a primetime Lille striker, a guy that's going to be sold for over $50 million if and when he gets sold. I think you have a lot of creative spark in Buchanan and Davies and Eustáquio. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to be Larin and David who are going to be the guys who are going to have to put one home. So this feels like a 1-0 game to me. Who's going to get that one, right? It is, at times pretty random. But I'd love to see Canada get it because, I think from a, sheer earning it and deserving it standpoint, Canada deserved and earned a lot more than they got in game one. I'd love to see them represent the region here strongly. And, honestly, I'd love to see more chaos on the final day, and a Canada win throws this group into even more chaos than it already is.
Right. Like we said earlier in this stream, it has been a very chaotic group already. Really, the entire World Cup group stage has been fairly chaotic. And if you remember, Croatia was a draw against Morocco. Neither of them scored. Canada lost to Belgium 1-0, but really it felt like they outplayed Belgium. And then again today, Morocco took down Belgium 2-0. So it's anybody's game at this point. That's what's so much fun about the World Cup is it doesn't matter where you are ranked, although we do want to remember that Croatia was the runner-up in the 2018 World Cup against France versus Canada, where this is only their second World Cup in nation history. They have yet to score a goal in the World Cup. What do you think that brings to the table?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I want to touch quickly on the randomness of the World Cup. And you always kind of forget it until you get in it. I feel like March Madness with, college basketball is kind of the same way. Every year in March, we all are kind of reminded when you make something a one and done event, it can get pretty random. And I think that, granted, not until knockout, it's not a one and done, but you're reminded of how close all of these teams actually are, that there really isn't as big of a gap as I think a lot of people want us to believe between a team like Croatia, who has some world-class players, and a team like Canada. This gap, the gap that exists, if there is a gap, it's pretty small. I firmly believe that. And I think you're seeing it with things like England beating Iran 6-2, everybody writing off Iran, and then Iran coming back, beating Wales 2-0, right? And you can look across the World Cup so far, and you see that all over the place. Japan beats Germany. Costa Rica gets smashed in their first game, and then they play, this morning, and Japan loses 1-0 to Costa Rica, right? It's the beauty of the event is on a game-to-game, day-to-day basis, you actually don't know what's going on, right? I think people who bet this event, who gamble on this event, are insane. Because one of my friends is texting me, hey, you follow soccer. what do you think? Give me some ideas about what to bet here, here, and here. I'm like, well, I mean, are you watching it all? Like, I don't want to lose you money. Like, I could tell you I think Belgium's going to win, but I can't tell you that confidently. And then, they get down 1-0, and my friend texts me, hey, thanks for telling me to not bet Belgium. I think I was going to bet them. So a lot of randomness. This is going to be a really fun and exciting one, though, Jill.
Right. For those of you who are watching right now, interact with us in the comments. We want to see your thoughts. We want to know what's going on, who you're rooting for, what you think of the lineup changes, who you have your money on if you gamble. Like Adam said, I don't recommend doing that. I'm not a big gambling person to begin with, but especially the craziness of the World Cup, not recommended at all. And we are almost underway. Croatia versus Canada. Really a must-win game for both teams. Canada more than Croatia. And we are underway.
Yeah, so something just to look out for with Croatia in possession here early is they're going to build out in a 2-1 formation. They're going to have their two center backs, and then Brozovic, who's their playmaker, their six, the guy who's really sets the tempo for them right in front of them. And so Canada loves taking away the passes to that defensive midfielder who sets the tempo. They do it all the time within CONCACAF. And so you saw right there early, did a really nice job of just taking away the passing angles to those guys.
Croatia in the all white, Canada in the black. Now, one thing we have not talked about yet during the stream is the comments made by Canada after their loss to Belgium, which I was talking to McKenna before we started, and I love the idea of a coach firing up their team. As a former athlete, I think that is huge. I love that, but that kind of stuff needs to be kept private a little bit. What are your thoughts there? Here's a header and a goal by Canada. Canada, their first goal in World Cup history.
Wow, Jill. It's Alphonso Davies. It's their guy. I mean, awesome run from him on the weak post to get in front of the Croatian defender. Perfectly placed cross by Buchanan. One of those hopeful ones that I think we were kind of like, talking about. There could be an offside here. It looks like potentially, on the goal kick, there was an offside by Larin, but we'll see if they end up pulling this one back. I hope they don't. That was a big time play, and that's the goal. If you're Canada, that's the goal that you want. You need an early goal. They play direct to Kyle Larin. He holds the ball up beautifully, gets it to Buchanan, and just like Canada always does, in just a spark of lightning, they can hit you going the other way. They're not going to be the team that possesses for a minute straight to get their goal. They're going to be a team that comes out of nowhere to get their goal, and that was absolutely gorgeous. Doesn't look like this one's going to be called offside. What Canada does better than anyone, I mean, you guys can see it on the replay, is when they get into these spots, they flood the box, and they've got Davies and David and Larin flooding the box, all dangerous finishers and threats. And then, here they're playing a cross in. Sometimes they're playing balls across the box. And so just absolutely gorgeous play right there by Canada. 1-0 Canada. That is massive and totally changes the complexion of this game. Totally changes how Croatia now have to approach the game, who like to play a more conservative game. They've got to go get it. And now there's going to be much more opportunity early for Canada to now go, counterattack off Croatia pushing up.
My two thoughts on that goal, like you said, they really do attack like lightning. I mean, I was ready to just have a conversation with you about the coaching staffs, and then all of a sudden here comes Davies with a header for the first goal in Canada history. Other thought is, you said you thought this was maybe going to be a 1-0 game. It's already 1-0 in the 4th minute now, so anything can happen. Maybe we'll be off again. And the last time we worked together, our predictions were extremely off, where it ended up being a draw. So exciting match already.
Yeah, when you get – and this is what, for everybody following who's kind of nervous about the Team USA game on Tuesday, this is what USA needs as well, right? A little different. Croatia wasn't going to necessarily pack it in the same way that I think a lot of us think Iran will play for the draw, but this was going to be a very conservative game. It's just how Croatia plays. Honestly, it's kind of how Canada plays. You saw that in game one. They don't overextend themselves. Neither of these teams like to overextend themselves and open up gaps. They're both very defensively solid. But now, like I just said, 3 minutes in, a lot of time for Croatia to go get their goal. I just think at some point they're going to have to push up maybe a little bit more than they normally would, and that's going to open up some gaps behind their midfield and front line for Canada to go play into. And that's, Canada's really, really dangerous when that happens. from Canada's standpoint, this very much feels like the USMNT game in Canada, this World Cup qualifying. They got an early goal, and then they were able to, just kind of kill us by being defensively solid and countering, and they, finally got another goal late in that one.
Right now, Canada with possession, but I think they just said that it was on the sidelines. So Canada up 1-0. What does that do for Croatia? Do you think they need to change anything? I mean, it's so early in the match. They don't need to change any of their strategies, do they?
Yeah, I think pressure's just going to build. Probably not yet. Like, you're right. It's such a mature team, right? You got vets across the board, guys who have been in these spots. If you watch them last World Cup, they played from behind a bunch. They won extra time. So this isn't like a team that lacks having been there. So no, I don't think you see them get crazy with how they're going to play here in the first half. But as this game moves along, if they're not able to get the equalizer, they are going to have to come out of their shell a little bit more. They're going to have to push numbers ahead. It's going to dictate their subs. They're going to have some more offensive-minded subs in the second half if they can't get that goal. But listen, this is a great Croatia team. They've got goals in them. Let's see if they can go get one here in the first half and equalize this thing.
Croatia with possession. In the 6th minute now. Good pressure by Canada so far to really prevent any attack for Croatia in these first 6 minutes.
Yeah, Canada is sitting in their 4-4-2 defensive shell. They have a couple different approaches defensively. This is a big one for Herdman, though, just a solid old school 4-4-2.
Croatia finally passing half field. Kick across. Trying to cross it towards the center of the goal. The shot is up and saved. Oh, almost a blunder there.
Tipped Borjan, that was a tough one. It was kind of like on the top of the post, and Borjan did a good job to kind of figure it out. But yeah, it felt like he mishandled it there for a second.
Really kind of just a lob of a shot on goal. Not a very hard hit shot at all.
Yeah, that was Kramaric just making some things happen, going down the right side and beating a Canadian defender one-on-one to get that cross in.
And if you are watching along with us, you can see that they just updated the live group standings with Canada leading. They would be in 2nd place behind Morocco if they can hold on to win this match, which would just be, again, a crazy upset here, which we've seen throughout the entire World Cup.
Yeah, and if you're Canada, the other thing just to kind of note here, right, their goal differential right now for the tourney is even, right, 0. After that last game, Morocco's +2, right? And so why this matters is if Canada can win this game, they're sitting on 3 points. I think that, goal differential is something that could play in here, after the final game. And so for Canada, it's like, they're not going to go crazy trying to run up the score, but getting another goal or a 3rd goal here could be a difference maker because you just don't know how everything's going to pan out in that final game.
Croatia maintaining possession.
Because there is a world where Canada win this and they draw the final game. They could go through. That does exist. That scenario exists. But I think it'll be 2 teams like them and Croatia or Belgium on 4 points, and then it'll come down to goal differential at that point.
How often does that happen in the World Cup, do you find? Or is this year kind of special?
It happens a lot. It happens more than you think.
Canada pressing. Another shot? No. Kicked away by Lakovic.
I think they're going to mark Laren offside there, and I think he was. You could see the ref. I think we had this situation last game. Just kind of waited, let the play run out, and then he made his offside call after the goal scoring opportunity was over. But yeah, you could see on the replay, Laren clearly offside. Croatia doing a good job of holding their line high, but Canada once again just getting the ball into zone 14, which is right above the box, and being threatening in that space.
against Belgium, it was about 50-50 on the possession for Canada. They were just a little bit under at 46%. Meanwhile, Croatia possessed the ball 65% of the match. Right now, it feels like Canada is just controlling this game, although Croatia pressing now. Crossover, no one there to receive it.
Yeah, nice little combination play. Modric to Brozovic, just two world-class players. Inter Milan, Real Madrid, two guys who play for two of the best teams in the world, and combining to make some special stuff happen. And that is the threat, with this Croatian team, is they have an incredible midfield talent, and those guys are now going to have to get a little bit more involved in the attack, especially than they were in Game 1 against Morocco.
Nearing the end of the 10th minute between Croatia and Canada. Canada leads 1-0. We have a few Canada fans in the chat. Think it's going to be a majority of the fans who are watching, I assume. Again, I think a lot of North American fans are watching on State of Soccer TV. I'm Joel Gearin alongside Adam Turner, McKenna May back in the studio.
Yeah, Canada, it's funny when they get in possession. It's not exactly what they do. So you can see right there, kind of mixed up their possession play. They're not bad at it, but they're so much better hitting you on the counter and in open space. And Croatia kind of takes advantage and gets the ball and comes back the other way right there. Once again, another dangerous Croatian attack. It is cut out by Alistair Johnson. Some rumors about him potentially making a move to Europe after this World Cup. Was cut out nicely, but Croatia here with a corner is just always a dangerous opportunity.
Johnson, a great defender for Canada, played the whole match against Belgium. Made his senior national debut in 2021 for Canada. We are waiting on a corner kick by Croatia. Here it is. It's actually just a pass in, which you and I saw a lot in the last match that we did together.
Yeah, Mexico played short a bunch for sure. Yeah, and you can see nothing really comes of that one for Croatia. They couldn't really navigate their way through the Canadian defense, and Canada, another opportunity to counter off of it. Croatia, once again, you're going to see this a lot. And I don't know, some people are more familiar, less familiar with soccer who are watching this, but Croatia's incredible counter pressing. So when they give the ball up, they press immediately in that moment and try and steal it back from you, right? And you can see right there, unbelievable counter pressing. That's something Canada's going to have to be just alert of.
How do you really counter that other than the obvious answer of you don't give up the ball again?
Yeah, you have to be willing to play direct when you see them coming at you. Playing direct means just playing it long and taking your medicine, right? Where you don't necessarily always have to play possession ball in transition. You can try and play a long ball. But it's just something you have to be aware of, and you have to be alert that, like, when you turn it over, and in those moments, Canada loves thriving in transition, right? So Canada's going to look to get on the ball when they turn Croatia over and go. Croatia is going to be looking to, press immediately, win it back, and then, basically, earn an opportunity off that counter press win. So a little bit of a chess match there. Like you said, there isn't like a perfect answer to it. It's, make smart decisions. Understand and be aware that they're going to be coming at you in those moments, and don't do dumb things to not say something overly complex, but it's what it is. Just don't do dumb things in those moments.
3 consecutive attacks by Croatia, 2 of them dangerous, I'd say, and they're still maintaining possession now. We're in the first 10 minutes or so. I felt like Canada just complete control of this match and kind of swinging towards the way of Croatia, but the Canadian defense doing a great job so far, particularly Johnston, who's with the ball now.
Yeah, you could see Croatia got called for a foul on their counter press right there. Now Canada in possession once again, and Canada, this is like how Canada likes to play in possession. They're not going to dink it around for a minute and a half. They're going to try and play, direct. They do it right there. Just, don't have the right runner. Davies just wasn't quite timing his run, and Larea wasn't quite timing the run to get on the end of that ball. But that is how Canada wants to play. They're going to play direct to their midfield, direct to runners, and try and hit you pretty quickly.
Juranovic with The throw in. And Canada regains possession. Right by the center circle. Canada setting it up, taking their time. Going down the left side, now in the goal area. Cross in towards the goal area, but Croatia able to come up with it. And Davies looks like he fouled there. Definitely not intentional, just was not expecting the crossover there.
Yeah, Davies just couldn't quite get the right touch on the ball. Really nice ball from Larea into him, making the run. And that is about as long of a spell of possession as we've seen Canada have. And honestly, we probably will see Canada have all day. They don't like to play that kind of soccer. They will if they need to. And, they're not bad at it. But, just eventually looking for a runner, which is what they found. They found Davies on a run. Pretty nice ball. Just didn't quite connect. And that was, Dejan Lovren for Croatia, longtime Liverpool player. Talking about veterans, he's maybe the veteran of the veterans of this group. Him and Luka Modric have been around forever. He's now playing his ball back in Croatia at the end of his career, but that's why he's in the game. He's in the game to sniff stuff like that out because he has a ton of experience doing it.
$15:35 on the clock. Croatia attacking. Canada able to clear the ball out of the goal area. Croatia will take the throw in, maintaining possession.
Yeah, my question still just remains. It's the same one I had pregame. Who's going to be, the offensive guy who unlocks play? And your answer probably is Luka Modric, but, he needs a little bit of support, and I think Kovacic and the rest of their midfield crew and defenders just don't unlock play with their passing. And so, he really needs somebody else to kind of give some support to get that ball up into dangerous spaces in the front line.
And with the way that Canada defends, it almost creates a cluster around the ball, I'd say, when you see Croatia defending. And here's the cross in, saved by Bergeron, but Croatia maintaining possession, another attack, and looks like there will be a foul.
Yeah, I think Borjan did okay on that one. I think he would have liked a cleaner punch, but he kind of punched it right into dangerous space in zone 14, and Croatia, able to play a pretty dangerous ball back into the box. And, Alistair Johnson, Johnny on the spot again, able to, just kind of cut the run out. Yeah, and I think that, to answer my own question, I think Ivan Perisic, who, is at Tottenham now, he played for Inter Milan for a long time. He was a big part of that 2018 run. He's going to have to be, making things happen for them. And, he almost got on the end of that run right there. The Johnston cut out, but, they need some massive contribution from him. They need him to create something up front. And, we'll see if it happens. Like I said, my prediction was a 1-0 game. I don't know if we will or won't get another goal, but Canada looks like the more threatening side, though, if you had to say which side's threatening more.
Another dangerous attack, but Livakovic able to come up with the save. Now entering the 19th minute of the match.
Yeah, Tejan Buchanan, who made a move to Club Brugge in Europe, and he is playing in Belgium now, playing his trade, same place Kyle Larin does, and really dangerous going forward. You saw the danger of Tejan Buchanan right there, just making a lot of guys miss, and then plays a really dangerous ball into space where Kyle Larin just couldn't quite handle it.
Canada with a quick attack.
Yeah, and that's Alphonso Davies. Elite defender, obviously, if you're going to play left back at Bayern, and obviously incredible turning that defense into offense. Just goes, like lightning goes back the other way to kind of ignite the Canada attack.
It'll be a corner kick for Canada. I think the keeper, Livakovic, a little bit upset with, I believe that was Kamrich, who headed the ball out where it looked like it was just going to go out on its own. almost an unnecessary corner kick. And Croatia able to clear it.
Yeah, Canada also playing short on their corner there, trying to, kind of make something happen around the top of the box, getting the ball there and trying to catch Croatia off guard. Croatia, other than that one, moment where they lost Alphonso Davies on the run and the goal, I think Croatia's done a really nice job of being alert and cutting out a lot of the most dangerous Canada actions. But I think for anybody who doubted Canada and you're watching this game, this is a really good team. I predicted them coming out of the group, and I had a lot of people on Twitter tell me that, I was crazy, and I really don't think I am. I thought this group was pretty wide open, and I think Canada is just super dynamic in the front and really solid in the back. I know they don't have names. They play some MLS guys back there, but they just are so solid. Herdman sets them up so incredibly solidly. Ooh.
Davies crosses to the center, but Croatia able to come up with it. Davies with a nice, really breakaway down the left side. Just when he crossed over, it was right to a Croatian player.
Gearin just with a really bad error, trying to, take the ball out of the air and play it over his head, and he just totally whiffed. Got really lucky that didn't end in a more dangerous Canada moment.
Croatia attacking. And this is where you can see in my opinion, the difference of the defense of Canada and some of the other teams we've seen. Again, the way I kind of describe it in my very little soccer verbiage is they kind of just cluster around the ball, where you see all the other teams tend to spread out a little bit more. Better or worse way, but it's just the way that I've been able to see so far in this match.
Yeah, they do a really nice job. They always have, right? You can see there's 2 lines of 4. At the back line of 4, the midfield line of 4, they defend really solidly within those 2 lines of 4. And the word that, I think the soccer aficionado word for what you're describing there, Jill, and I think you're spot on, is they're really compact, right? And so they kind of compress space in those 2 lines of 4. They make it hard for you to get through, but not right here.
Not a bad attack by Croatia, just couldn't get one final touch on it. Ended up being rather light shot on goal.
Yeah, and as soon as I was saying they were compact and solid, they let, I think that was Kovacic right there. Kovacic goes, gallivanting through both those lines to play a ball into Lavaha, and Lavaha just couldn't quite get a foot on it.
I think that's what's called the broadcaster's jinx, if you believe in those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, if you're Croatia, that's kind of what you need a little bit more of, though. You need some adventurousness from those midfielders who don't always do that at the club level. You need those guys to just get a little bit more involved in the attack. So, bright moment there from Kovacic. You need him and Modric and a couple of those other guys in that back line to do just a little bit more to help the attack out.
Canada attacking again.
Nice nutmeg right there by Davies. And he's just so good one-on-one, kind of creates an opportunity out of nothing here just by being special.
Canada will maintain possession with a throw-in. And they just showed on the screen, if you're watching along with us, Croatia is maintaining possession 46%, Canada 43%, really even. But like you mentioned, Adam, it feels like all of the dangerous attacks are coming by Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like a couple of the moments Croatia's had here in the last 5 minutes. So it seems like they're starting to string some things together to get dangerous. But I think you're correct. I think the most dangerous stuff has still been the Canadian moments. I would still weigh a little more heavily.
Canada attacking. Haven't seen a quick get in this attack.
Now you see Croatia in their 5-4. Defensive base, back line of 5 and a line of 4 in front of that. And so this is very common to how they defend and kind of leave their striker up by themselves, ready to counter. Really hard to break through. I think Canadian team, also just doesn't love breaking through defenses like this. They like playing on the counter more. So I think if you're Croatia, you're okay. If Canada's possessing like this, you're okay. I think if you're Croatia, you need to think like, okay, can we get the ball and can we counter them? You know, and that's, I don't think they've really been able to do that so far.
Entering the 25th minute now. 1-0. It's been that way for the last 20 plus minutes. Really more than that. It's actually at about a minute 30 when Canada scored their first goal in World Cup history.
Yeah, very apropos that it comes from, you know, Alphonso Davies as well, who's the, you know, by far and away the best player in Canadian history. I mean, this is honestly like a top 20 type player in the world, maybe the best left back in the world, you know, top 2, top 3. So, you know, really cool that it happens for him as well. You know, it's, you know, I think for us very much like Pulisic, who's been the flag bearer for us for the last 4 years. And I think Davies getting that goal for them is really cool. It's also a huge moment. I mean, you know, I know you were kind of talking a little bit right before the goal, Jill, we haven't circled back to it, about I think the coaching approach of Herdman after last game. And I'll just say this, you know, and I think I've seen split opinions on it. Seen some people who are like, it's a little bold. You're, you know, maybe egging Croatia on in a way that you don't want to. Oh, I'm going to freeze that story here for a second.
Croatia attacking. Here's the shot. Misses. Another shot. And it's tied up.
Yeah, I mean, that's offside is called, Jill. Offside.
Wow, I did not see that in lifetime at all. That was Kramaric with the shot on goal. And for those of you watching along with this, you can tell that Adam's a little ahead. You paused the story perfectly for us.
Yeah, and that, you know, that was, it was just really good combination play by Modric and I believe Kovacic in the midfield. And all of a sudden they're freeing up the front line at Croatia to get dangerous, and really good one-on-one move there by Kramaric to, you know, to create that goal. But they called him a hair offside. Canada getting really, really lucky. And it looks like, I don't know if they're going to go to VAR. It doesn't look like they are. It looks like play is on. So Canada get away with it. But that, like, Jill, that's the moment that I was talking about, you know, no more than 5 minutes ago. Croatia, you know, is sitting back and letting Canada do what they're not comfortable with, which is possess the ball. And then all of a sudden, you know, Canada they're not used to possessing and having to play back. And Croatia does a really nice job of just getting on the counter quickly. You know, 2 of their elite world-class level midfielders, you know, combine play to move it forward. And then they have enough quality up front, obviously, to get a goal, which we saw right there.
Really tough call on the offsides. Even on the replay, I wasn't really able to see it. Like you said, if it would be just a hair. It's something that I think maybe worth going to VAR, but stays 1-0 Canada in the 28th minute now. And of course, every time we try to talk about the theatrics before this match with the coaching staff, so something really exciting happened. So I'm just going to say my 2 cents really quickly again. As a former athlete, I love it when a coaching staff is vocal like that, when they're intense like that. But I do think that's something that needs to stay private, that should stay private, just out of respect for teams and respect for your own team as well, where I know that there are coaching staffs who get really intense, and I don't want everyone knowing what my coach is saying to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, Herdman's been pretty intentional on this whole journey. You know, I really feel like he's said the things he said, done the things he's done pretty intentionally. There's a chance emotion just kind of overtook him right there, and he didn't mean to say that, but I think he knows his guys and he knows what fires him up, and he's just been a master motivator for this Canadian team. I mean, listen, they were a team that I think some people thought they might not even qualify for the Ocho. They could get held up before that, and they end up winning, you know, the qualifying, you know, cycle for CONCACAF. And so he's pushed the right button at every single moment. I think obviously being up 1-0 here, you know, he might have pushed the right button again to get his guys fired up. I think what he wants to do is he wants to let them know that you belong. I think more than disrespecting opponents or disrespecting Croatia, he just was trying to say, hey, let's go effing play. Let's go, you know, F Croatia, F the, you know, the World Cup final, all that stuff. F that. Like, we've got guys, let's go play. And I think more so than saying, like, you know, Croatia's bad, he's just saying we belong. And I think that's the message he's been trying to deliver all along. Because if you're Canada, you know, what tells you belong, right? You have 0 all-time World Cup goals. You've qualified for 1 World Cup ever. You know, history doesn't tell you belong. So I think the coach is trying to really, you know, maybe does it a little bit over firm in that you know, situation, but trying to tell his guys that they belong.
I agree. I mean, when he took over as head coach, and he said that his eyes were on the 2022 World Cup, people looked at him like he had 5 heads. They thought it was going to be a little bit of a rebuilding process for Canada, or not even a rebuilding, just a plain building process.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, they're definitely, this is a team. Oh, this is a nice little movement here by Croatia. Yeah, that's the second no call we've seen. One was Tejan Buchanan, I think, thought he was fouled a couple minutes ago going down his right wing, and then Croatia maybe thought they could have gotten a foul going down their left wing there. But I think both good no calls there. I think both were, you know, a little bit of a flop by both guys, and the ref is kind of content to let them play on here. But they do get a foul called right here. This is a pretty dangerous area. Not necessarily, probably a little bit too far to go directly a goal, but Canada is going to have something from a set piece standpoint to take advantage of this space. This is a dangerous space to have a free kick.
In the 31st minute of this match, Canada still up 1-0. Is Davies taking the kick? Davies, of course, now can say that he is the first ever goal scored by Canada in the World Cup. Only 22 years old as well.
They got their talisman over this free kick, and this is a big free kick. You know, another goal for Canada really bust this game open. Totally changes the complexion.
Free kick is up, but battered away by a Croatian player. Canada maintains possession. For those of you watching along with us, let us know who you're rooting for, what you think so far, 30 minutes into this match. We have coverage for you throughout this entire World Cup. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and of course, subscribe here on State of Soccer TV.
That play right there cut out by Gvardiol. I haven't even talked about him. Young center back for Croatia. Gvardiol plays his club soccer at RB Leipzig. He's 20 years old, really an elite talent worldwide at the center back position. At 20 years old to be starting in a World Cup for a top squad is always an accomplishment. You know, they actually have a 22-year-old who they play opposite him sometimes. So really good young backline core for Croatia, as old as I think some of their front line and midfield players are. They still, you know, are going to keep churning out soccer players in Croatia.
Thrown by Johnston. Croatia maintaining possession. Setting something up on the top left side. And again, just good pressure by Canada, you can see so far.
Yeah, and Croatia, you know, willing to build out, and Canada, you know, sitting in their 4-4-2, willing to allow them to build out. Just don't want anything to get behind them. That's Canada's goal. As you can see, Kamal Miller snuffs out that little cross right there. And it's, you know, it's really a game where, you know, I feel like at some point, we're 32 minutes in here, right? Croatia's going to have to come out of their shell. It looks like they're coming out a little bit here to press Canada, which is good to see if you're a Croatian fan, because you need to make something happen.
Throw in. Croatia able to get possession, and it'll be a throw in again for Croatia.
Yep, so you can see the press worked right there, and it looks like they're kind of dialing it up. You're seeing some of the midfield players push a little bit further up when Canada was in possession there in their back line. You know, and that is a weakness of Canada's. Canada doesn't have the most technical backline players.
Jovanovic throwing again towards the goal area. Going to set it up, a kick across from the left side. And Croatia still maintaining possession, but Canada now getting it. And we'll go off the sidelines. And Croatia again with possession now with another throw-in.
Sustained pressure here by Croatia, not allowing Canada to get it out of their third of the field. And this, really just starting to feel like a moment where Croatia could go get one.
Just about 10 minutes left in the first half, plus whatever additional time. Crossover from the right side. Canada gets ahead on it. But Croatia gets the ball back again. My goodness.
Yep, right there, ready to counter press. So you could see Kyle Larin thought he was going to take that header and run with it, and Croatia right there to counter press and win that ball back. And this is Croatia tactics at their absolute best right now, where you're possessing with your skilled players, and then when you do lose it, you're counter pressing immediately to have the ball in dangerous space.
Shot on goal and blocked by Borjan. Great
really dangerous. And this one, Jill, starts with Modric and Kovacic in the midfield combining really beautifully. Kovacic making the pass through that was kind of the final unlocking pass. And so, yes, once again, they need those frontline guys to play, but you're starting to see the midfield, come through in massive ways in their build-up play. And, that was Lavaya who got on the end of that and could have easily been a goal. Nice save by Borjan. But once again, midfield for Croatia is the absolute key in this game.
Croatia with another corner kick. And Canada gets a touch on it, but it looks like Croatia is going to maintain possession again. My goodness, The Canadian defense can't catch a break. Coming in, a shot and a goal. This time, no offsides call, and it is tied up 1-1. Kramaric able to get another touch. This time, again, not offsides. We are tied up at 1.
That one was just coming, right? For the last 5 minutes, it just felt like that goal was coming. And Canada, really, really poor job in their back line, which is, oftentimes a strength. But, that was Ivan Perisic, just a beautifully weighted pass to Kramaric. And, once again, this Croatia team starting to really show their quality. There's a lot of quality on this team. And I think right there you saw it. Just really naive defense by the Canada back line to let Kramaric, make that run. But once again, we've seen four moments like that in the last 10 minutes from Croatia. So they were knocking on the door, and Canada needs to get themselves back together here, because after an unbelievable start where they dominated the game, seems like Croatia's made a couple tactical changes that have, totally taken Canada by surprise.
I think it was Hutchinson for Canada who had the misstep on allowing Kramaric to get in. And like you said, it was really a long time coming. Croatia had been not just attacking, but dangerously attacking, putting so much pressure on the defense where it was only a matter of time before they finally did tie up this match.
Yeah, and there's some balls here for Canada. They could have played through that sustained pressure from Croatia over the top, but they just didn't do it. They kept trying to possess. And like we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, Croatia's so good on their counter press, really just never let Canada get the ball out of that, 18-yard region, really, right? And really never even got close to midfield in that whole, passage of play. So, you can see the game starting to get chippy here a little bit too, with Buchanan, getting fouled and, kind of waving the Croatian player off as he tries to help him up. So, no love loss here. Canada know that they need a win. So I think we're going to see Canada go back into attack mode.
Free kick right by the goal area. Canada hasn't given up possession just yet, and they maintain it down the right side. Croatia able to come up with it. It was 2 against 1 there. Really no chance for Canada to be able to get the ball without any help coming. And here comes Croatia down the left side. Wait for the crossover. And no, he's going to wait and set up a play. I thought maybe they're going to have a chance to send it towards the goal area.
Yeah, Canada did a good job of getting bodies back into the box right there. So not a ton of high percentage crosses there available for Perisic, I think it was. So Canada, does a good job of getting back there, setting up their defense. And, obviously Croatia did a clean job of taking care of the rock right there.
Canada with a little bit of a breakaway, but no help there.
Yeah, Canada look a little bit lost here, Jill. It looks like they kind of lost their footing in the game, and you can see them kind of starting to, chirp at each other. And, obviously their play seems a little bit frustrated. They seem a little bit out of sorts. I think especially in that back line that's usually so solid for them, is pretty out of sorts here in the last 15 minutes. So if I'm Canada, I'm hoping we can get to halftime without allowing another goal. You can see a little bit more chippiness between Larea and Modric and talking to each other, letting each other know that they're both here. So Canada not backing down, which is nice to see. But if you're Canada, you're kind of just hoping to get to halftime 1-1 because, Croatia has absolutely dominated play over the last 10, 15 minutes. And it just feels like if we sit out here for another 10, 15 minutes, Croatia is going to get another goal or two. So at times getting back to, your locker room, allowing your coach to, make some adjustments and, settle you back down can be the best thing for you.
An elite team is going to be able to, I guess, settle down on their own in game. But a young team like this, where your leading player is only 22 years old, it's everyone's first World Cup. Sometimes you're probably going to need your coach to settle you down at halftime. So I agree. I just need to make it to halftime. About 5 minutes left in the first half. But again, there will be additional time added, especially now with the injury on the field. It is Stockwio down for Canada.
Yeah, and you can see the live standings, just flashed on the screen if you're watching the game. Once again, Canada, a draw just is really painful for them. It puts them bottom of the table. It really creates very few scenarios where they end up going through just because of goal differential. And, they would need to beat Morocco by multiple goals and then still get some help, in the other game. So, Canada really want to win this game. But you can say the same for Croatia as well, right? A draw for Croatia, still makes their task really tall. A win puts them, much more in a driver's seat in the group and put them first in the group if they could get a win here.
And it would be a huge upset for Croatia not to get out of the group stage with them being the runner-ups from the last World Cup.
Yeah, for sure. It's and you got Morocco playing Canada, so you're in a pretty good spot if you're Morocco. Obviously, Canada's not a pushover. We've seen that, but Morocco's feeling really good about their spot right now.
Throw in for Canada. Maintaining possession, but a lot of pressure from Croatia right now.
Yeah, and that was a pretty noticeable tactical shift, in the first half by Croatia. It was just pressing more. I think ever since they moved their line of confrontation higher, the game really changed. I think Canada's just been under more pressure, and they've really succumbed to it.
Canada maintains possession again. Be another throw-in. This time by Johnston. Johnston, another young player, just 24 years old. Canada trying to set something up. And you can see that pressure again from Croatia.
Yeah, I mean, Croatia just, really felt like they were kind of sitting back in a shell, and all of a sudden, Canada passes backward to the center backs, and it, obviously triggered a pressing attack right there from Croatia. So something to look out for is Croatia pressing the center backs when the ball goes back to them. I don't think Croatia respects the Canadian center backs' ability to play the ball and play the ball in dangerous ways, and I'm not adverse to that at all. The Canadian center backs aren't known for that.
Croatia attacking. Canada, a touch on it, but Croatia maintains possession. A shot and goal. Croatia now leads 2-1 in the 44th minute.
You really just felt it coming all game. Really good combination play up the right-hand side, and I think, just really driving the ball forward there, right there was the right back, Juranovic for Croatia. Really made that whole play happen. Played a really nice little 1-2 on the right-hand side. Just kind of got the ball to Lavaya in a dangerous space, and Canada, once again, just really naive with their defending, caught out in really bad spaces and end up giving up a clean shot right from the edge of the box. And you can't do that against really good soccer players very often and get away with it. In Canada, very quickly learning that here. It's gone from 1-0 Canada to absolute domination of this final 20, 30 minutes of the half by Croatia. So just Canada getting punished in a lot of different fronts right now.
Really tough for Canada, where they did get a touch on that, where it looked like maybe they had the potential to regain possession and not allow another goal to score for the first half. But like you said, Croatia is just really good at counterpressing and maintain that ball immediately. Again, a great job. And Croatia attacking yet again down the left side. 45th minute.
Just flying with confidence. Perisic nutmegging in, getting the ball back and playing it across. It's like they're just absolutely flying. Like I said, about 5 minutes ago, Canada, wanted this half to end about 10 minutes ago. And if you're Croatia, you want this half to never end, because right now they just got Canada on their heels completely.
We have 4 minutes left to play now with, actually 5 minutes additional time added. And it feels like Canada's just going to continue to hold their breath. Have possession on their own end.
Yeah, 5 minutes of injury time doesn't help Canada, though. It's an additional 5 minutes. I think Croatia's excited to see that number go up. Canada, probably pretty mad about that one. Just feels like the half that won't end.
Which is so unfortunate for Canada, because, again, the first 10, 15 minutes felt like they were in complete control, scored their first goal in World Cup history at the minute 30 mark. And all of a sudden, about to head into the second half, down 2-1.
Yeah, I think as ambitious as Canada is, you can really question Herdman and it's tough. When you score a goal that early, here's another dangerous moment for Croatia.
Croatia, shot on goal, but too high. That was Kramaric, who has seemed to be in a little bit of pain the last few minutes. I don't know if you've noticed that, Adam, but every time they show him, he's wincing about something. So I wouldn't expect him to stay in for much longer. I'd say an early sub in the second half.
Yeah, depending on the status, you could see him come off at half, but players are weird, right? Players win sometimes. Hurt, not hurt. So who knows? Yeah, and so what I was saying before that attack is, I think Canada, you could say Herdman might have been a little naive. They were still really trying to go out and get the game, and pushing numbers forward. And I think they got caught, a couple times just not being as solid, in the back as they need to be. But it's tough. It's a lot of time to park the bus. It's hard to park the bus for 90 minutes against a great team. So I think the thought pattern can go both ways there. But at this point in time, if you're Canada, you got to go get a couple more goals. They have goals in this team, right? David, you got some guys who can go get you goals. They've got to go get a couple. One before half would be absolutely tremendous.
Canada attacking now. Seeing if they can set up a play. Just under 3 minutes left of additional time. And Croatia comes up with the ball, but there is a Canadian player down. Haven't seen them get up yet. Crossover. This is Kramaric. And the dangerous attack is broken up, but Croatia maintaining possession right near the goal area. A pass in, but Borjan able to come up and cut off the Croatian player for a much-needed save.
Yeah, Croatia just, I feel like dicing up this Canadian back line and just, like butter, man. They're just absolutely cutting it up. They seem to be able to find whatever pass they want, whatever through ball they want. Canada's really got to figure that out. They've got to give some more support going back.
Davies with the ball, crosses over. Canada just trying to get the ball into the goal area. Can't seem to do it. Croatia coming down the left side. Crossover is knocked out of play by Miller.
Yeah, Canada caught out again right there on the counter. I mean, they're just in possession. Croatia totally fine with Canada possessing. Canada trying to build through possession. And I think, Perisic comes up with a turnover, plays the ball forward, and all of a sudden, if you're Croatia, you're off to the races. Just if you're Canada, you're like, gosh, how many times are we going to give this up before, we're going to get burned again and again and again?
That's Miller. Pretty fired up. I think, like you said, Canada starting to get upset with each other. Looked upset that no one else was back there to help him out. Corner kick just to pass in. Croatia looks like they'll have one last shot before this half ends. So they're just not really setting anything up.
This was always the worry for Canada, was they don't have as much talent in their back line as the half rings right there. And I think you've just seen it exposed, right? Their back line is mostly MLS guys and guys who, don't have the profiles that their front line have, and they tend to push forward, and they leave those guys on islands, and I think they got caught leaving those guys on islands one too many times.
At half, it is 2-1 Croatia on top of Canada. Your final thoughts before we take a break for halftime?
Yeah, bright start by Canada. I thought Croatia came out really conservative. As soon as Croatia dialed it up, I think you saw the quality of Croatia, who across the board have more quality, more experience. They've been there before. You saw that just kind of play out. I think if you're Canada, you've got to go back to the drawing board, figure out what Croatia's doing to you, and then what's the counter. And I think Herdman's been really good in his tenure at finding the answers and finding the solutions. And this is going to be the biggest test of all, because they cannot – if they lose this game, they're done. So they have to find a way to get a draw, if not a win. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Canada comes out and shows us some different looks.
We will take a short break. Before we do, want to remind you to subscribe to State of Soccer TV on YouTube. Thank you for all of you joining us right now for this watch along. Also follow along on Instagram and Twitter. You can see all of that down below here. While we take a short break for halftime, let us know in the comments what you think each team needs to do to win this match. I'm Jill Gearin alongside Adam Turner, McKenna May back in the studio. We'll be right back for the second half. Welcome back to State of Soccer TV. I'm Jill Gearin alongside Adam Turner, and we have McKenna May back in the studio. It is halftime right now between Canada and Croatia. Croatia leads 2-1 in a must-win match for both of these teams, really. And Canada came out looking strong. At a minute 30, they had their first goal ever in World Cup history by none other than 22-year-old Alphonso Davies. But then Croatia really came in hot, scoring 2 unanswered goals, one late in the half where Canada was really just holding on to their last breath, trying to make it to halftime, at least tied up, unable to do that. Adam, what do you think Croatia needs to do in the second half to win this match?
I think probably maintain their pressure on both their press when Canada has the ball, their counter pressing when they give up the ball. I think Canada really couldn't handle it. I think once they dialed that up, I think you saw, the naivety of a younger and less experienced Canada team really show up. And, it's something that I think as U.S. fans, we were hoping we could do to Canada, and we just really couldn't get a foothold in the game to be able to do it effectively against Canada. And I think that you see the difference in a team like Croatia and a team like, the USA, and Croatia showing all of their quality and all of their experience is being shown off in that last 30 minutes. When you really look at the stats, Jill, Canada had one big chance. Canada had one shot. Canada had, 0.15 XG, which is our expected goal number, right? It's how many goals you'd expect them to have given the opportunities they had. It was a out of nowhere header from Davies. And at the end of the day, when you look at the half in totality, I was sitting here for the 5-minute break going, when you really think about it, Canada didn't have a ton of chances. I mean, they had some moments where it looked like they could get a chance in that first 20 minutes. But other than the goal, there wasn't much there. And so if you're Croatia, you're like, hey, guys, we gave up one moment and fell asleep in the first 3 minutes. And after that, we totally dominated. And so for Croatia, it's like, keep doing what we're doing. Canada, I think Herdman's probably going to the drawing board trying to figure out, what kind of tactical adjustments and wrinkles he can make to, open Croatia up, because they need to open Croatia up. They cannot sit back and defend, and that has some two-way risk, right? Like, it has risk because Croatia has a lot of quality going at you. So if you're going to push up, Croatia showed what they can do going back at you in the final 20 minutes. But Canada can't afford to sit back now. So it's kind of like a do-or-die moment here for the Canadian national team.
So it sounds like there's really two areas where Canada needs to come back. They need to figure out how to deal with that counter pressure, where for a split second you think, okay, we got out of this attack unscathed. All of a sudden they come in, they get the ball back. That's one. Two, you got to score a goal. Of course, that's kind of the easiest way to say it. And in order to do that, you need to find these crazy attacks. Because like you said, really early in this stream, they attack like a lightning bolt. They come in really quickly out of nowhere. They rarely set things up, which is really difficult. And I think they may need to figure out a way to do that against Croatia.
Yeah, and it's not their strength. And so it's like, it doesn't, I think, bode well for Canada if it's like, hey, Croatia's going to give us the ball, and we're going to have to build through a really solid Croatia defense. We're going to have to build moments through that Croatia defense that's set, right? It's set back, in their mid to low block. Totally fine to let Canada possess. I wouldn't feel great if I was a Canada fan. It's similar to how I'm going to feel on Tuesday as a USMNT fan, where if we're tied or down in the second half and we need a win, which is really what we need, it's win or go home. I'm not going to feel great because it's not what we do well. We don't build through blocks well. We counter well, much like Canada. When we can get out into open space, we're really good. So I think Canada fans are probably pretty nervous right now. They're probably like, we're going to have to build through this incredible Croatia team to get a goal. When really the moment that they scored on was more of a transition moment. It happened very fast. And I think Buchanan got on the ball and there was a cross, and Croatia just almost similar to us. They weren't ready yet. We weren't ready for that moment yet. Croatia wasn't. So this is going to be a tricky, interesting half. I don't envy Canada fans. As a U.S. fan, no matter what the result was the other day, we had a chance going into the final game. And Canada doesn't have that luxury. They didn't get a point in the first game.
Right, let's go into predictions for subbing because right now it looks like both teams a little bit gassed, probably Canadian defense gassed just a little bit. I mentioned earlier, I think it was Kramrich who looked like he was wincing again. I know this is soccer. They tend to do that just a little bit, but I think I saw him hobbling a smidge. In the last game, both teams had about 4 subs. Who do you think, where do you think they need to bring a sub in for each team? Where do they need a little spark?
I think Croatia will go more defensive as this game goes along. I think that if they maintain the 2-1 edge or even score another goal, you're going to see them come in with guys who give more defensive solidity, more experience. I think from Canada's standpoint, it's tough. Like you're looking at this and you're going, all right, who can be the difference maker in this game today, right? Who can be the guy that like comes off the bench, gets the goal, makes the play happen. And unfortunately, you just don't have that much quality on the Canada bench. Kind of looking at last game, they, brought in Kone off the bench. They brought in Larin off the bench, who, obviously is starting today. I think Osorio is a guy in the midfield that can give you a little bit more playmaking. He's a solid player. And then I think obviously, Junior Hoylett, who started last game, is a guy that we may see. Mark Anthony Kay, Toronto FC player. But honestly, as I'm saying the names, none of them are like, whew, that's going to be tough for Croatia to stop. As I'm saying all the names, I'm like, I don't know if that's an upgrade offensively over what they have on the field. So it's going to have to be the guys on the field that get it done, in my opinion. Jill, it's going to have to be Davies, David, Larin, Larea, Buchanan, right? These are the names for them. Estacquio, that are the creative engine of their team, and they're all on the field already. So, hopefully I think Herdman made some adjustments and has those guys with a more clear understanding of how they can take advantage of what Croatia is doing to them.
Right. I think where I could see a little bit of a spark needed for Canada is, like you said, kind of in the mids where someone who can create a play, because you have your top goal scorers already on the field. So somewhere where someone can make a play, get one more extra touch to get it to Davies again, to get it to Buchanan. I think that's where we could see a sub come in, particularly for Canada. But it's a tall order here. I mean, they need to at least get a draw, ideally a win for Canada to even have a shot of making out of the group. Croatia feeling pretty good right now. That's not a shoo-in for them, even if they come out on top against Canada, not a shoo-in to make it out of group. But again, as the runner-ups in 2018, you don't want to not make it out of the group round. One final thought I have on Canada, kind of going into the future 4 years from now, as we're about to start the second half. You mentioned how there isn't a lot of big names on the bench for Canada. And I think that's something that we're going to see throughout the next 4 years of the Canadian national team. Just unfortunately not what you want in one of the biggest matches for the Canadian national team in about 30 years.
Yeah, for sure. And as we're talking about subs, you've got Jonathan Osorio, who's one of the names I mentioned. I think probably coming in for Hutchinson is my guess. He's a little bit more attack-minded. And then you have Kone coming in as well. I didn't see who Kone's coming in for. But obviously, yep.
It's Estacquio and Larin who are coming out, actually.
For Estacquio, wow. That's shocking. Because, wow. So I'm interested to see if this means a tactical switch here from Herdman, because Estacquio is a guy who for them is like one of their creative engines in midfield. And obviously Larin is a goal scorer up front. And I guess they feel like they can get more out of Kone. I don't understand those moves at all. But, we're underway here, and let's see what happens.
Underway for the second half. Croatia leads Canada in a must-win game for both teams. Right now, Canada maintaining possession on their own side, but Croatia with a lot of pressure yet again. One note on Kone, he really didn't do much for Canada in the last game. He did sub in for Hutchinson, but didn't really have any shots on goals, no fouls committed against, no fouls committed. Just didn't look like he did a whole lot for Canada in the last game. And really same with Osorio, where he's a name that makes sense to come in, but he didn't really do a lot against Belgium in their last game.
No, in my eyes, neither of those guys are difference makers if you need a goal. I'm sorry. I think Osorio could be, but I wouldn't be bringing Osorio on for Estacquio, who I think, it's kind of a like-for-like sub there. But I get it. I mean, you also can't leave yourself too exposed. You know, taking Hutchinson out is taking out the more defensive-minded guy, and that's kind of unfortunately, the really tough spot Herdman's in right now is he needs a goal. But if you get over ambitious, Croatia can go, like we saw, get a really quick one and put this game to bed.
The only thing I can think of with Osorio for Stockio is Osorio is 5 years older. At 30 years old, he's been playing for the senior team since 2013. A little bit more experience as Croatia loses the ball. I believe it'll be a goal kick, and it will be.
Yeah, losing Stockio's creativity at halftime is a tough one, though. If you need a goal, it's just tough to lose his creativity that early.
And then Kone in for Laren. Laren, 27 years old. Kone, 20. Maybe a little bit of extra energy from the 20-year-old would be nice, but just an interesting, like you said, neither one of us can really see why he did this unless there's going to be a huge tactical change, which we have not seen just yet by Canada.
No, still looks like they're in their 4-4-2. Got Buchanan wide right. Looks like you've got David and Davies up front. You've got Larea on the left-hand side.
And if you're watching along with us, go ahead and comment. Let us know what you think about this match so far as we are just into the second half. Make sure you subscribe on State of Soccer TV. Follow on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, I guess a little bit more of a 4-3-3 from Canada. Like Kone and Hutchinson are kind of navigating the midfield right now. Obviously, Osorio playing more as like a number 10, an advanced attacking midfielder. So, could be an attack. We see a little bit more of like a 4-3-3, a little bit of a different attacking approach. They really haven't had the ball yet for us to see. Here's a nice attack by Canada.
Nice crossover by Canada. They are maintaining possession. But Croatia able to get it out of the goal area. A kick over and just misses a little wide to the left.
And there was Osorio. I mean, he's playing as like a number 10 and gets the ball in that number 10 space right at the top of the box and is able to make a nice little one-on-one move to create a little space for a shot and just misses wide. But, maybe that's what Herdman's kind of looking for here. I'll have to kind of keep my eyes open on it, but looks like more of a 4-3-3 in attack, and it looks like Canada's pressing up with Croatia with the ball. So it looks like a pretty different tactical alignment here for Canada in a couple ways.
I mean, that was really the best shot on goal we've seen ever since their goal they made at the minute 30 mark.
Yeah, I agree. Probably the most dangerous moment. And looks like, Kone and Hutchinson are both kind of patrolling the midfield. Not sure if it's a double pivot, but both guys set back a little bit more, and like we said, Osorio in front of them, and so definitely causing a little bit of confusion for Croatia to start the half. Croatia doesn't look as comfortable as they did at the end of that half, and I think that's probably what Herdman wanted. So it seems like at least out of the jump here, the Canada adjustments and going into a little bit more of a 4-3-3 are paying off.
In the 50th minute now, Croatia maintaining possession right around midfield. I think the one thing that we will see, let's do hypotheticals. If Canada does tie it up, I think Croatia is the team that's able to adjust mid-match. Canada proved that they can't do that. They need their coach to sit them down and kind of tell them what to do. Davies attacking, but he loses the ball. Croatia.
Here's Croatia just going right back at you when you lose the ball, so Canada has to be aware of that.
Kick towards the goal area, but misses the mark. Shot on goal blocked. And Canada gets the ball back. Dangerous attack there.
Yeah, crossing to a really dangerous space. I mean, nobody got on the end of it, but, it's a really, really dangerous cross right there by Croatia. And you had a couple different players who were inches away from getting on that, and Borjan didn't handle it well either.
Didn't handle it well, but got lucky. Went right to a teammate.
Yeah, and right here you can see Canada just stretched out. Canada going to have to go get this game now, and a lot of space. You know, we've sort of seen with the last 2 counters for Croatia, just a lot of space to attack. And that's Gvardiol. That's the 20-year-old center back I talked about for Leipzig, who's another in the long line of Leipzig young center backs that they've been able to sell off. Gvardiol is going to end up going on to a big-time club. And you can see his skill right there, a center back pushing the ball forward and driving into offensive space.
That will be the first yellow card of the match. It goes to Buchanan of Canada. Dangerous opportunity for Croatia now. Brozovic will be taking the free kick.
Canada's good at countering off of set pieces, so I think Croatia just has to be aware. If they give this up quickly, Canada's going to try and come right back at them and try and get dangerous quickly.
A cross in, but cleared momentarily. Is Croatia able to maintain possession? Modric. But Canada pressing now. Davies showing a lot of pressure for Canada.
Yeah, you see the different approach from half one, right? Is they're pressing up, trying to create something and make something happen. Also, you can see how much space is open behind if Croatia's able to handle it.
Canada with the ball, their own side of the pitch. Canada coming down the left side, looking for a cross. And they're actually going to set up a play, it looks like. They're being forced to, at least. And Croatia able to get a touch on it. Retaking possession. Crossing the halfway line. And
yeah,
so
you can just see how much faster this game is now. And that's because Canada has to play a style that they're not, always used to, which is pushing up more, which is going to leave a lot more space in behind for Croatia to attack. So this game all of a sudden got really fast and back and forth, which for us as viewers is super fun. For Canada, you're sitting on the edge of your seat.
Crossover for Croatia, a shot in and save, a great save by Borjan. Another opportunity by Kramaric and got a good touch on it.
Yeah, really nice ball in by Brozovic, and then the cross was just by Modric was just in a perfect space. So once again, I think you see the midfield combining and playing balls that then lead to opportunities for the front line. So, picture perfect if you're Croatia. And Canada just, they're being forced to leave way more space than they're comfortable with. And honestly, Jill, I'm not going to be shocked if we see another goal here pretty quickly, because this just isn't what Canada's good at. It's not what they did all World Cup qualifying, and it's not what they've been built to do.
Corner kick is just a pass in to try to set something up. And Davies gets the ball, needs some help to clear it. A crossover, but it is saved by Borjan.
Yeah, I think they called a foul actually right before that as Modric picked up the ball on the counter press. They got him for a foul on Osorio, looked at the back of his legs.
Looking back at the replay, I think that was the right call. Again, let us know what you think of this match so far. Entering the 56th minute, I see someone says, we need Canada to come back. They deserve a fighting chance to qualify. And, it's tough. If you're just a soccer fan, a football fan, and you want to see a great game, of course your heart goes out to Canada. Of course you want them to make it out of the group stage. A shot just tipped. Wow. A fantastic shot. But there's going to be a yellow card.
Yeah, and offensively, at least so far, Herdman pushing the right buttons, because that was Osorio getting involved in the attack again for more of that attacking midfielder space. Made a great run, played it back to Buchanan, who just kind of laid it off for David, and David took one of those shots from the top of the box. We saw, Croatia score on one of those in the first half, and David just gets a bit unlucky right there. Nice save by the Croatian keeper.
And I think there was a yellow card. And yes, here it is. It's on Lovren, the second yellow card of the day, first on Croatia. It will be a corner kick. Canada looks like they'll maintain possession, but a lot of pressure from Croatia. And it looked like on that yellow card, slight injury for Hutchinson. Little nosebleed.
Tactically going to be interesting to see how ambitious Croatia remains, just because they've got the 3 points locked up right here. In terms of this group, that puts them, on 4 points, tied with Morocco, which is a good spot for them going into that final game. And honestly, I think Croatia can score goals in this game without pushing too far forward, just because there's going to be some countering opportunities as Canada has to drive forward to not get knocked out. So, just something to look out for is how ambitious are Croatia driving forward, because this game going to a draw really hurts Croatia. It puts them in a much tougher spot going into that final game.
A pass stolen by Croatia, crossover, but saved by Borjan. And Borjan really with a mistake there, trying to pass it to a teammate. I think it was Buchanan he was trying to pass it to, and it was stolen by Croatia. Able to redeem himself there at the save as Canada attacking. A kick from Buchanan is blocked.
See the Davies pace going up the right side there on the counter. It's really special. Croatia, unbelievable job getting two bodies toward him, which is going to open up some opportunities for other guys. But if you're Croatia, you're just you know the game here. Don't let Davies beat us.
Still 2-1 Croatia. Both teams have had their opportunities. No goal yet in the second half.
The change of formation's done its job, though, Jill. You can see Canada in possession just have a lot more ideas and a lot more creativity. I think what they essentially did is Kone and Osorio, both midfielders, they subbed out Larin to bring on more of a creative midfield-minded player in Osorio. I still don't understand bringing Estaquio off, who I think in this three-man midfield alignment could be really, really helpful for you, but see if it pays off for the Canucks.
Croatia with possession, but stolen by Canada. Taking it up the middle of the field. Pass over to Buchanan. Top of the goal area, but Croatia able to get a touch on it to regain possession.
Jill, it's funny, like a couple of my friends who don't watch soccer a lot normally were like, Adam, I feel like a lot of the games have been boring. 0-0s, 1-1s. And I'm like, guys, you have to understand that, like, once you know the game, the opening games of World Cups are often like that because teams don't want to lose it in the first game, right? So you see a more conservative approach. I told them all, I was like, if you can hang on and watch some of these round 2, round 3 games with stakes, it becomes exact opposite because teams can't do that, right? It's like, if you're the United States, you need 3 points or bust, right? Like the U.S. cannot play conservative on Tuesday, so you're just bound to see a more fun game, right? I hope it goes our way, but it's just going to be a more up and down and open game. And that's what I think what you're seeing right here is Canada's had to open up this game in the second half, and all of a sudden, just from a pure viewing standpoint, this is fun. We don't have goals so far, but it's like openings and opportunities going both ways in transition. So my hope for some of the casual viewers out there is they can just kind of hang on and watch some of these cool, really high-stake round 2, round 3 games that are going to provide us a ton of action.
I think that's the case for basically every single sport, as we do have a substitution for Croatia. Lafaya is out and Petkovic is in. Your thoughts on that substitution?
Yeah, I mean, Petkovic a little bit more defensive-minded. So I think just like I said, you're going to a defensive-minded guy here and trying to bring some energy into your defense and solidity there.
So this is Petkovic's first game in the World Cup this year, and actually first game ever in the World Cup. It's his first one, was not in the 2018 team. He's 28 years old, and he did not play against Morocco. So we'll see how his defense comes into play in this 2-1 match. In the 61st minute, Croatia leads. Yeah,
so as a center forward, it's kind of interesting. Defensive subs as center forwards are interesting to me. Like when I watch Petkovic, he's a bigger body, and I think he, isn't necessarily going to, as you can see him right here already in the hold-up play, he's going to give you, the ability to kind of hold the ball up. He's going to give you the ability to counter press. He's a bigger, more physical guy. And so often your defense starts in your front line. I think people don't realize that, right? Like the players you have up front can often be the spark of your defense, especially when you counter press the way that Canada does. So, fresh legs defensively to counter press, bigger body to hold up the ball. I think it is, well, it's a center forward, and people are out there probably going, what are you talking about, defensive sub? With a center forward, I think you can kind of often see teams do that, to hold up games. They have guys who do a better job on the front line finishing games out.
And speaking of subs, we have Hoyla in for Laria on the Canada side.
Oh, wow. That is awfully close to a PK right there. Looks like Davies just got dragged out outside the box. I want to see this one on replay.
I mean, really just holding him completely. Yeah. And yes, he was just outside the box, like you said. Still dangerous.
Yeah, really. And that's the one-on-one ability of Davies, and I think that as much as I've lauded the young center back Gavardiol for Croatia, it's Alphonso Davies. I mean, he's just going to beat you one-on-one pretty often. And I thought it's actually a pretty smart foul to not let him drive forward into the box right there. This is a tough angle. Going to be interesting to see if Davies goes for the goal or if he tries to go across the box to find one of his teammates.
Here it is, and the kick is blocked immediately by that wall of 3 Croatian players. But Canada will maintain possession, but here comes the press from Croatia. Crossover towards the goal, and it is stopped by Livakovic. Really, in my opinion, a wasted opportunity.
Canada applying pressure with the ball. It's just going to be a question of do they get caught out, and can Croatia take advantage, one time to get that 3-1 lead. But, Canada doing what they need to do, made really good adjustments to get more offensive and to be able to kind of spark their attack. So see if they can get a goal here.
I want to go back to the sub-in for Pekovic. How you said it's a defensive sub, but in the forward position, really. And do you think that's going to help them with that counter pressure immediately? Is that the idea, you think, for Croatia?
I do. I mean, I think like when you're a team like Croatia that, rely on your counter press to maintain the ball, it takes a lot of effort to do that effectively. And so I wouldn't be shocked if, they get 5 subs. I wouldn't be shocked if 3 of them are frontline midfielders. Even though this is a game where they're going to have to solidify the back, I think having enough energy and legs in your frontline guys, not to do the offensive work, but to do the defensive work at the point of attack of your defense. Because that is the point of attack of your defense. Your defense begins with your offense, how you possess, how you hold up, how you counter press when you lose it, right? The work you do up front really matters a lot to set your defense.
Croatia with possession. Davies putting a lot of pressure still. Kind of the sole guy putting pressure on the defense of Croatia, I should say.
Yeah, and this isn't to knock the work of center backs. Center backs out there are probably going to get angry at me for saying this, but they just don't have to do as much running. They just don't get as fatigued. Center backs can play a lot of games in a row, and I think where you often find subs are needed late in game to maintain your legs are front line, your fullbacks, right, who are getting up and down the field, your midfielders who are, playing both ways. So, if I had to guess what the subs we're going to see from Croatia, I think we're going to see, fullbacks, another frontline guy subbed out, a midfielder subbed out. I don't think we see a center back change. I think they've got their center back pairing that they're going to kind of live and die with back there.
Croatia with possession. A lot of pressure from the Canadian defense. Down the left side, and ball out of the sidelines, but Croatia maintains. Is Perisic. 66th minute. Throw in. Knocked by a Canadian player.
Going to Pekovic, the big body, which, late in a game like this, it's nice to have a big body to play to. Trying to go to Pekovic on that throw in as he's just kind of the biggest body in the box now. You saw that in the U.S. game against Wales. That Kiefer Moore sub, they brought him a 6'5" striker in the second game, and it really changed the game. It changed, the ownership of the box really became Wales because the guy is just such a big body and skilled player to hold the ball up and play to.
Now Canada receives the ball. Croatia immediately with pressure. Davies able to get free, passes it towards the middle. Cross over to the left side and kicked out of play. Nice play by Jovanovic. Canada trying to set something up near midfield. Still that same pressure from Croatia. I don't think we're going to see it let up till the end of the game. And Buchanan loses the battle, but comes in with a throw-in. Pressure forcing Canada back towards midfield. Attacking towards the center now. Going out to the left side and stolen by Croatia.
Just a poor pass by Alistair Johnson. It was just awful. I mean, had no chance of going where he wanted it to, and it sprung the Croatia counter the other way. They get lucky that Croatia just kind of mispasses the ball there. Ooh.
Pass over, but stolen by Croatia.
Yeah, they had Davies making one of those kind of classic Davies runs in behind your fullback and center back and splitting that space, and they just couldn't squeeze the pass through. I mean, he was in. If they get that pass through, Davies is in and on to the keeper 1v1.
Just a poor pass by David, trying to find Davies, as you said.
Yeah, and that's really, I mean, that's one of the dangerous things about this Canada team is they have a guy who can just make runs at any time and get open.
Croatia attacking. Borjan comes up and able to make the save, comes out of the goal area to make it.
Back and forth nature continues. It seems like a goal is coming to us, Jill. I don't know which way. Both teams, seem to be knocking at the door here. We'll see if either can break it open.
Canada setting it up from the top. Johnston with it. Passes to Hoyland on the right side, near the top of the box. See if they can find Davies. And with the pressure, they're going to bring it back towards midfield. Still feeling a lot of pressure as they send it all the way back to Borjan to try to reset something up. And Croatia able to get a touch on. Even when Canada has the time to try to set something up, they still aren't making the best passes.
Yeah, they're missing Eustaquio's quality in the middle of the park. And
crossover towards the box, a kick and a goal for Croatia, 3-1. Kramaric with another goal.
Just a numbers game, Jill. Canada is trying to drive forward. They're not really, getting too compact and compressed going back, kind of having to leave themselves open to try and drive forward and get a goal. And they pay for it right there. Just not enough numbers in the box to deal with, both the cross, the guy receiving the cross. And I think that was, Perisic, who we talked about, who's, one of their main offensive instigators, getting on the ball and just, making an awesome cross to dangerous space. And you can see on the replay, there's 4 bodies back in the box for Canada. That's just not enough, and obviously there's only 2 Croatians there, but you want to be able to send more back into the box. And with how forward Canada was trying to get, how quickly they were trying to get there, it just felt like one of these chances was going to open up for Croatia. That was Kramaric, right? His second goal of the game. Another shot from top of the box land from Kramaric. So really nice finish again.
And he had time to make the shot, too. He really didn't have pressure on him. He gave himself kind of a nice little pass to set it up. And if that was the Canadian player doing that, they would have immediately had a Croatian player on them. So 3-1, Croatia leads Canada now in the 71st minute. entering the 72nd. And with a loss, Canada is officially out. They will not be able to move on. Of course, they will still have their final game of the group stage, but they will not be able to advance out of the group stage with the loss.
Yeah, game really opening up. I mean, that was a really good chance for Croatia once again. I mean, that ball was just begging to be put in as it kind of slid across the face of the goal. So, Canada could easily give up another goal or two here coming home. Once again, if you're Canada, you got to go for it. You got 19 minutes. You got to go get 2 goals. This will not be boring soccer for the last 19 minutes, Jill. This will be a Canada team trying to go all out to get 2 goals and save their World Cup.
It looks like we will have some substitutions. I think I saw something on the sideline as we see the replay if you're watching along on the stream.
Yeah, it looked like Kramaric coming off. He's earned a break, 2 awesome goals, and this is a big 3 points for Croatia. They've got a primetime matchup against Belgium. Getting 3 points here today and getting themselves to 4 points in the group is absolutely massive. And we're still going to be in a spot, Jill, where, Belgium or Croatia, they're going to be playing heads up, and one of them may not make it on. I mean, I would bet one of them doesn't make it and move on, simply with how the numbers are playing out right now. So you talk about a fun game. Like, that is going to be, 2 of the top 10 teams in the world, 5, maybe top 5 teams in the world really going at each other, top 5 to 10.
So does Vlasic in for Kramaric, and David and Hutchinson have been subbed out. I apologize. I did not catch who came in for them. I'll let you know as soon as I find that again.
Yeah, it looked like Canada subbed in Atakugbe, a defender, and Cavallini, an attacker. And Cavallini's coming in for David. Poor day for David. Really wasn't dangerous all day. I still don't know if I sub him out right now. I guess you want the legs, but the quality dip from David to Cavallini is pretty stark when you need 2 goals.
This is Cavallini's first World Cup, and he did not play against Belgium, so this is his first moments. Three to 1, Croatia leads Canada in the 74th minute. Just a couple of substitutions that came in.
Yeah, and for Croatia, like I said, wasn't not a backline guy. Even though you need to stop goals, not a backline guy. It's a frontline guy. It's bringing energy into that front line, because that's really where the Croatia defense starts.
Crossover for Canada. Head by Davies. Buchanan almost able to get a touch on, but a save by Livakovic, and there was an offsides call, I believe. Let's look at the replay.
Yeah. Buchanan didn't go after this one because he was so far offsides. You're kind of wondering why he didn't go attack it. I think he knew he was so far offsides that if he touched it, it wouldn't count anyway.
Great opportunity for Canada. If you're watching live with us, the standings show with Canada 0 points, Belgium 3, Morocco 3. And if Croatia can hold on, it'll be 4 points with them leading Group F.
Yeah, and if you're Croatia, you're in a spot where the only way you don't advance is if you lose and Morocco loses, and Morocco wins, then you might not go through. So they're in a good spot. They need Morocco to beat Canada, and they would need to lose against Belgium. So obviously that could happen, but if you're Canada or if you're Croatia, you feel pretty decent about where you're at right now.
A little bit of a collision as Croatia attacked, and they will have a corner kick. This will be the 5th corner for Croatia. And for, I believe, the 3rd time now, they're going to set up a play instead of crossing it in towards the goal area. Now, Adam, at what point, if you're Croatia, do you just want to kind of sit back and play defense? If you have a breakaway, go ahead and show some offense, or do you want to run up the score here at the group stage level?
I was trying to kind of figure it out. I think that I think with Croatia and Morocco both tied, the only scenario where goal differential is really going to play in for Croatia is against Morocco. They're both at +2 right now. Potentially getting that extra goal, with the way things shake out could be the difference maker. between going through and not going through, just depending on the Canada-Morocco result. So I think you want to get the goal, but I think at the end of the day, giving up the goal, does just as much damage, right? Because right now you're tied on goal differential. So if you go give up a goal late, it kind of screws you as much as getting one helps you. So I think we'll see a really conservative approach from Croatia in this last, 15 minutes. I'll be shocked if they park the bus fully, which means, basically putting all 10 of your field players back in the box and letting Canada kind of just whip crosses in. But I think we will see a Croatia team that's set back a little bit more, maybe not as aggressive in their pressing, and tries to possess, a little bit more of the ball just to kind of play through Canada.
I agree with you, especially where, it's a 2-goal lead. You don't need to be putting a whole lot of offense on, but also your defense has been doing just fine without you sitting back. So there's no need to put any extra emphasis on your defense right now.
Yeah, like that attack right there, you could see they were bringing 4 guys forward, really, and I think that's about what you're going to see, right? And often that's what matters the most, and that's what coaches will dictate late in the game is like, when we do get on counters, coach, how many do you want going forward, right? And so right there, it seemed like 4 guys were driving forward, which really leaves you 6 guys behind, which are still pretty good numbers to stop a potential Canada counter.
Big kick for Canada, trying to find Kubi, but he beat by a Croatian player. A throw-in from Canada, and Croatia steals it right there. So their defense is staying hot with a lot of pressure.
So check it out again. How many numbers is Croatia going to drive forward? It looks like I see 3 in the picture as Perisic drives it, 4. So it looks like 4 guys is what they're sending forward.
2 shots on goals. Great saves by Borjan, and Canada able to get the ball back finally after holding their breath. Only, like you said, 4 people in the box, and they're still able to get 2 different shots off.
So now as Canada breaks down the other way, you've got more numbers back to deal with this Canada counter, which is what you want if you're Croatia.
Canada maintains possession, but on their own side.
The saves by Borjan were just tremendous, by the way, Jill. The toe save on the first one on Perisic, another leg save on the second one on Brozovic. I mean, just pure reaction saves right there, and saved any chance Canada has, going down the stretch right here. These are just spectacular saves.
We're seeing those on the replay now. And the goals that have been scored for Croatia against Borjan, he wasn't really making mistakes. They were just good shots. It was more his defense wasn't there to help him, where they had really good shots on goal.
Yeah, he's been caught in tough spots. I think maybe on the first one, you could ask a keeper to do a little bit better, but, on the whole, all 3 have been pretty tough spots to put your keeper in.
Well, rather a high-scoring game compared to a majority of the other group matches so far. 3-1, Croatia leads. Now, of course, Canada down by 2. They need to at least draw and tie it up in order to have hope of making out of the group stage. But I don't want to take away of how impressive Canada was in those first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, first goal ever in World Cup history by a Canadian.
Yeah, and if you're Canada, you want to go get 2 more right now. I mean, there's 10 minutes. They have it's in their locker right now. They've got it in their locker with Alphonso Davies on the field and some other fresh bodies on the field to go get another goal or 2. You feel like you got to strike right now in the first, in this next 5 minutes. 1 in the next 5, and then give yourself a chance to go tie it up in the last 5, plus injury time. So, a lot of game left still. It's not over. As crazy as 3-1 seems, if you watch soccer enough at a high level, you see games go from 3-1 to 3-3 all the time in the last 10.
Croatia picking up their pressure again. Canada hasn't been able to cross the ball to the other side of the pitch in a while. Pass by Vittoria. And here's Davies with the ball, but Vittoria is down. Beg your pardon, not Vittoria. Sosa is down, so Croatia with possession now. Cavallini just comes up and kind of hip checks him almost.
Yeah, Canada trying to play direct to Cavallini. He has a big body. You can play direct to him, and he can knock it down to the runners, but he obviously didn't work out right there. Now, I think if you're Canada, you don't have enough time to, kind of play with the ball and play through the Croatian press. You've got to, go long like we just saw right there. And honestly, as low percentage as it is, I think that's the move. And hopefully you get a ball to break the right way. You knock it down to Davies, and he's in the space. But you've got to play some, I think, balls direct here. You just don't have the skill on the field to connect 10 passes through this Croatian side, in my opinion.
Croatia attacking, throw in. They have it at the top of the box, and a very wide shot to the right.
That was ambitious by Perisic on his left foot as a righty, so not sure if I'd love that shot as a coach. It seemed like you had possession of the ball. You could recycle it backward and drain some more clock.
Right, it's more of a shot that you see from a team who's down 3-1, not up 3-1. Long kick from Horjan. It's out of play, so Croatia with possession yet again. Canada just can't seem to get on the offensive right now.
No, I told you, Jill, I didn't love some of their subs. I think two of the more technical and talented players for Canada are on the bench right now, and you need 2 goals. So I just don't understand those subs.
Canada now with possession. Now about 7 minutes left in the match, plus whatever additional time is added. I'd say probably 3 to 4 minutes will be added. Crossing halfway, pass to Buchanan down the right side. Trying to find Davies. He's there, but a lot of pressure. Great ball handling. Pass towards the middle. And the pass towards the left side is out of bounds. Nice idea by Canada, just no one there to receive it on the left side.
It's funny, as strong as Canada was in World Cup qualifying, as poor as Costa Rica was in the first game, Canada looks like they're on their way to being the first CONCACAF team knocked out of the World Cup, funny enough, and I think a lot of people, including myself, had them as a potential surprise to go through to the knockout. I thought they had all the ingredients to be a team that could knock off, either Belgium or Croatia. And I think they probably should have gotten it done against Belgium. They outplayed Belgium. They not outplayed Croatia at all. They outplayed Belgium and just kind of got unlucky and should have probably figured out a way to get 3 points in that game. But it didn't happen, And I think for them, they're going back home for a World Cup in 2026, obviously the States as well. But I think they're going to play their games in Canada. So it's a great opportunity, I think, to learn and build, and they have enough young talent that they're going to be, a force to reckon with, come that 2026 World Cup. I don't think anybody's going to want to play them. The way Canada is developing soccer players and getting dual nats, if they can add another 2-3, premier guys into this, core group of young players they have, it's going to be a really, really fun next decade for Canadian soccer fans. But it doesn't seem like it's meant to be at this World Cup, Jill. Going to be one of the first, not only CONCACAF teams, I think one of the first teams knocked out of the World Cup.
There were 2 yellows handed, one to Miller of Canada, the other to Modric of Croatia. And I saw the ref saying no pushing to Miller. So he's getting frustrated. He's been frustrated a majority of the game. And we are going to have some substitutions for Croatia. Looks like 3 as we are in the 86th minute.
Yeah, so they are, I just checked it. Technically, they're going to be the second team eliminated from the World Cup. So interesting. You've got them in Qatar right now. Will be the 2 teams on 0 points through 2 games and who are done. So definitely not the World Cup I think Herdman and Canada envisioned for themselves. Still, obviously, 5 minutes and injury time left to make something happen, but they haven't even been knocking at the door, Jill. So I don't understand how they can go from that to scoring 2 goals. Just doesn't seem to be happening.
Orsic, Palisic. There's one more that I missed who are in for Croatia now. Coming out is Kovacic, Perisic, and Modric. So some last-minute substitutions as we are nearing just under 4 minutes left in this match, plus whatever additional time is added. Canada trying to find something, but going to be tough. A few minutes left, although here's a breakaway now, but a sliding tackle by Croatia, able to get a foot on the ball to break it up. Here's Canada with a nice steal, although no help given.
It wouldn't be shocked, to see Croatia score one here in the last 5. I mean, Canada obviously just leaving themselves totally open in the back, but don't know if Croatia is going to be that interested in driving the ball forward and leaving themselves exposed. You saw right there, instead of playing, offensively, they really just kind of cycled it back and kicked it back to Canada. They seem to be content to let Canada possess the ball. They can set their defensive shell up behind Canada, and I think they feel pretty confident that Canada can't break them down.
Few minutes left in this match, and finally able to figure out who has the final substitutions for you. Again, Perisic is out, Kovacic out, and Modric is out. In is Major, Orsic, and Pasalic. Canada trying to get something going here in the 89th minute. They are attacking down the right side, and a throw-in will be had by Hoylett. Gets it into Davies. But kicked out of play, and Croatia will now maintain possession. At this point, just a game of keep away for Croatia. So the throw-in. Davies comes up with it, but stolen away. But I think Pekovic. Croatia coming down the right side. Slows it down.
You see the approach of Croatia right there. Instead of driving forward, they totally slow the ball down. They play backwards. Obviously really content. I think probably we're going to see them give the ball back to Canada and just make sure their defense is set up. Yep. Kind of kick it back from goalkeeper up the field. And
here's an opportunity for Croatia. In the goal area, shot, but right to Borjan. 89.
Conservative attack by Croatia right there. Good, smart, conservative attack. They've put numbers forward in a very conservative way. And they've really, I can't recall a really high volume chance by Canada here in the second half. They've kind of gotten in and around the box a couple times, but there's really been not much in the way of serious opportunity, and that's a credit to just how solid Croatia is.
Canada attempting to take it down the left side, but a lot of pressure from Croatia, as we've seen.
Yeah, just bodies on bodies back right now for Croatia, as you can see.
Going to be 6 additional minutes added. Here's Davies. Johnston crossover, but Croatia able to clear it. Canada trying to get it back in towards the goal area. There is a player down on the field. A Croatian player as Vitoria had a hard hit on Pekovic. So still 6 minutes, now about 5 for Canada to try to score 2 goals, but that is a tall order. 2 goals in 10 minutes possible. Of course, 2 goals in 5 minutes still possible, just very, very tough to do. especially against this Croatian team who's been spectacular defensively. And they will kick it back towards their keeper.
Yeah, a lot of credit to Croatia. I mean, other than forgetting to mark Alphonso Davies on that opening run of the game where he scored, I mean, they really haven't put a foot wrong very often. They've been, extremely disciplined with their positioning. They've made all the right interventions, been great in the air. I think they've, from the midfield, which is, so good defensively with Brozovic and Modric and Kovacic. I mean, those three guys are just awesome two-way soccer players. And then you get, how good their back line is. And this is, I'm noticing today, I mean, we all know Croatia's good. They made the final last time, right? But how good are they still, right, as they've aged? And I think you're seeing that this is a team that can once again make a deep run. They're just built for tournament soccer. Great front line, enough pop going forward to get a goal or two.
Across, but misses. Here's another opportunity for Canada. And headed out of the way. Canada maintaining possession, though. A kick over and just misses. Oh, Hoylett almost gets it into the back of the net. Misses by inches. Looking at the replay. A little bit further than I thought. Maybe about a foot out to the left.
Yeah, you feel like those are the two Canada chances in this half. I think one was an Osorio shot from outside the box that went wide. And that last by Junior Hoylett. So, if you're Croatia, once again, I think you're okay. They're semi-contested shots from, low XG areas. If you're Croatia, you're kind of just doing your job. So
about 3 minutes left to play. Davies with it. Middle of the field. Pass to Osorio. Crossover to Buchanan. He heads it, but Croatia clears it.
Be on the lookout going back the other way, though. Canada is exposed going back.
Oh, and here it is. Possibly an uncontested shot. Pass and goal. That will be the game, the dagger for Croatia. 4-1. I mean, a 2-on-no-one, really. Two against the goalkeeper. And,
yeah, I mean
Croatia didn't make that shot.
Come on, Miller. I mean, I explain how bad this is. I mean, he literally lets the ball go through his feet. I mean, yeah, they had numbers going the other way, but all he has to do is clear that ball, and they're totally fine. To let that ball go through your feet is just unexplainable. It's so bad. That's the midfielder Meyer who just came on getting the goal. Unselfish play by Orsic. But once again, I mean, come on, Miller. I mean, that is just a gaff of gaffes. And granted, there's 3 minutes left. You're probably not tying this game away, but, just an awful way to kind of put the nail in the coffin with that kind of play.
Right, Miller, the ball went right through his legs. Just had to stop it, finds another player, a teammate to pass it to. Game instead, 4-1. Mayer with his 4th goal in international play.
Yeah, this scoreline, won't be indicative of how strong Canada, is as a team. They've had to play in a way, since they gave up those 2 goals, they've had to play in a way that they just don't like to play. If they could have, if they didn't have to go for a win in this game, if a win wasn't, so dire, I think this is just a different game. So I think, game state, tournament state have really caused Canada to play the way they've had to play. But, that's a big – we talked about goal differential for Croatia, and that's a big one. They're going to be sitting on 4. Morocco's sitting on 4 points, and now they're ahead of Morocco in goal differential, which, in terms of the final day action and what happens, could matter.
Last chance for Canada. They are down by 3 final seconds of this match as Canada attacks. But Croatia now with the ball as it goes out of bounds, and Canada will regain possession. 15 seconds left on the clock.
So maybe poking the bear by Herdman wasn't the best idea is what we're going to conclude at the end of this game.
Here's another opportunity, but Canada able to kick it out of play.
Poking the bear publicly, I think the Croatia team took a lot of offense to that. I heard that, Perisic, right after he heard about that quote, said, can't wait to get on the field. I heard the coach talked about being disrespected 13 times in 90 seconds. So obviously the Croatian coach had his guys fired up to go play this Canadian team, and gave them, you don't want to give guys billboard material, especially good teams. You don't want to give them billboard material. So Herdman, for the first time, might have played that one wrong, Jill.
Right. Canada falls to Croatia 4-1. They are officially eliminated from the World Cup. Of course, they will still have their final game in a few days. Croatia, still an opportunity to make it out of group. I believe they are in second with 3 points now. But it'll be a close game for all of the groups as the group stage comes to an end shortly later this week. Right now, Adam, your final thoughts on Croatia and what we can see from them moving on to their next match.
Yeah, I'm looking at the table, and they're sitting on top, 4 points. +3 goal differential. Morocco's at 4 points with +2. Belgium is at 3 points. So, Croatia's created a situation where Belgium has to win. Mm-hmm. A draw for Croatia in that Croatia-Belgium game moves Croatia on. Croatia's totally fine with a draw. If you're, Belgium, a draw probably doesn't get it done for you. You're -1 goal differential. Morocco's +2. A draw, you would need a lot of Canadian help. You need Canada to win by 2-3 goals, which, based on how we saw Morocco play, I don't think that's going to happen. So, I think we all want high-stakes games. Croatia-Belgium is one of the more high-stakes games between two top teams who, easily could make runs at this thing. And it looks like, Belgium, with their life on the line here, it's like a win or go-home type situation. For Croatia, it's not over. They lose this game, and Morocco draws. Morocco goes on and Belgium goes on. So there's a lot of scenarios to play out here in this group. And it's going to be an awesome last day. I mean, these are the, even though Canada's out of it, Canada still has a big role to play. If they go beat Morocco, they still can dictate who moves on in this group. So I expect Canada to come out playing with absolutely nothing to lose. And I expect a great performance from them. I'm actually going to predict they beat Morocco. It's not necessarily a popular prediction probably right now with them sitting on 0 points, but I think they're going to beat that Moroccan team. And I think Croatia is going to beat Belgium, and I think that's going to knock Belgium out. I think you're going to have Morocco and Croatia, going on from this group. But this is what the World Cup's all about. I mean, just some unexpected results, some results like this one that, maybe go as you think they would go. But fun game, and honestly, a really exciting game going up and down. And I think Canada would have liked a couple more goals out of it. We got a ton of action, ton of goals. And you really, at the end of the day, you saw Croatia's quality in the midfield shine through. And even though the frontline guys aren't the biggest names, it's not like Lewandowski, it's not, the biggest, shiniest names. Those guys can play, I think they proved it today.
Last day of group stage is going to be chaotic, like you said, Adam. Do you want to focus in on Canada? They have nothing to lose for their final game. I like your prediction of them coming out and winning. I think they're at least going to put up a really strong fight because they still want to prove that they belong here. They earned this. And I mean, Alphonso Davies' first ever Canadian goal in World Cup history. That is still something to be proud of. Only their second appearance in World Cup, and Davies, only 22 years old. I'm looking at my board with all of the ages. A majority of this team is under the age of 30. I think average age is maybe 26, 27. So still a young team where they will have more talent coming up in the next 4 years before the next World Cup.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. They're good. Let's not get it wrong, right? Like, they won World Cup qualifying in the CONCACAF region for a reason, and it's they're well coached. They have talent. They can absolutely kill you with the way they play. I think today they were forced out of their style a little bit after they gave up the 2 goals. They were forced to do things they're not necessarily comfortable with. You saw them change formation in the second half. And all of that is a recipe for disaster on the biggest stage against a really good team when you're forced out of what you do really well. I think what we're going to see against Morocco is there is no like do or die for them, right? You're going to see them be them for an entire game. And I think when Canada is just able to be Canada, you saw it in the Belgium game, can outplay some really good teams. And listen, I like Morocco. I think they're good. I'm gonna be rooting for Canada still. I'm gonna be rooting for the regional rival.
Absolutely. I'm Jill Gearin alongside Adam Turner with McKenna May back in the studio, almost ready to sign off, but stay tuned. Make sure you're always keeping up with State of Soccer TV. Subscribe here on YouTube. Also down on the bottom, we have Instagram and Twitter. Next game for the Watchalong is tomorrow. Portugal versus Uruguay. That is an 11 o'clock game. Adam, your next game, I don't believe will be until after the group stage. And my next game I'll be on for Spain versus Japan on December 1st. Again, if you've enjoyed this watch along, please subscribe, like, let us know in the comments what you would like. But for the final time, signing off from State of Soccer alongside Adam Turner and McKenna May, I'm Jill Gearin. Final score, Croatia 4, Canada 1.